Hey, everybody, let this be a lesson to you. If you stay up and watch the Masked Singer, and you hang out and do some other work before you put your videos together on Wednesday night, you end up at 12:45 on Thursday morning putting a video together. The main reason is we came up with another clunker. I'm just about convinced that it's my little laptop that I've been using. I do my New Testament lecture first. It comes out pretty clean. Then I do this one and it failed again. So that's two times in a row. And I think what's happening is that the poor little computer is overheating. In fact, when I went to play back something else, it had no sound at all. So that garbled nonsense that we had on Tuesday's video showed up again. My wife, who is a bit of a guru with that kind of thing, went to work on it. It was going to take forever to undo the damage that my little computer had done. So I said, I'll just redo it. So this may be a little bit shorter version than what you would have gotten otherwise. But hey, sue me. You know, you get what you get right now. We're doing the best that we can. We're going to be talking about Articles 19, 20, and 21 of the, excuse me, of the United Nations Universal Rights document. So if you have yours, you could read through that, but I want you to listen to the comments that I make and then respond to those. One of you said that they thought that the garbled video that we had on Tuesday was good in one regard because it made me sound like a supervillain. So I need a supervillain name. So tell me that you watched the whole video and then make your comments on the video and then tell me what my supervillain name are. Try to be nice when you do that. All right. Article 19. Everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers. All of us know people that have wild, weird, and wonderful ideas, opinions that hardly anyone else in the universe holds, but they think it's true, and that's just the way it is for them. And we kind of learn to overlook and just go on with them if they don't spend too much time talking about it. But what the United Nations had in mind in 1948 was that there had been a period of time, particularly in Nazi Germany, there was a period of time coming up in China and in the Soviet Union, where people were not really allowed to hold opinions that were different than the published opinion of the state. What they believed, and then asking them publicly, do you believe what you're supposed to believe? So your opinions needed to be opinions of the state. Well, to be in a morally right situation, people need to be able to have their own opinions, and they need to be able to express those opinions, even the most seemingly ridiculous, the most outrageous, the most undereducated opinions should have the right to be heard. Now, in 1948, what kinds of media did you have the opportunity of using to give out these opinions? Well, you might have, say, shortwave radio in 1977, 78, 79, right in there. I had a good friend of mine who wanted us to move to the Black Forest area of Germany. In those days, the wall was still up. There was still a big divide between East Germany and West Germany. And our mission was going to be to shortwave radio gospel messages into Eastern Europe, into Eastern Germany. And he fell in love and got married, and we got shortwave. Television was in its very infancy, early 50s. We started having some channels that people could actually pick up, and a few shows that eventually became famous, like I Love Lucy and some of those that were from the 50s. But you didn't have a lot of different YouTube channels, and I'm not paying anything for this. So it may be that you're seeing commercials when you're watching my stuff. If so, I hope they're decent. Nobody has told me otherwise. Um, but I don't even have to pay for it. I mean, pretty much anybody can get a YouTube channel and put on it whatever they want to put on it. Now, there are some guidelines, and there are some things that will be taken down if they're considered to be too uh, out there. But by and large, if you have an opinion, you can get it out there. The same thing's true with Facebook. I put things out on my Facebook page and on the church's Facebook page that some people wouldn't agree with, but I have the right to have that belief. I have the right to share that belief with other people through whatever means of media that I can get hold of. So again, in 1948, I don't think they understood quite what they were biting off in that regard to tell people that, you ought to be able to share whatever message you want to share. Now, there are some groups and some people that we don't want to hear what they have to say. So occasionally I have things pop up on my Facebook feed that are advertisements that somebody has paid to put on there or that somebody else thought was important. So they put it on my feed that I don't care anything about. There are some things that are very offensive to me that show up on my Facebook feed. Well, you've got a little button, you can just block that, get rid of that. So eventually you end up with a feed that kind of matches the opinions that you already hold. So we may not be learning a lot from Facebook, but we have people in our communities that share the same kind of ideas that we do. We memes back and forth about things that we already believe, encourage each other politically, spiritually, and socially to keep media and regardless of frontiers. In other words, if you broadcast from Texas into Mexico or from Mexico into Texas, you should be able to do that, and people should be able to get that information. I got a message today from one of my friends in Africa. I've never met the gentleman personally, but we're both preachers. He preaches for Church of Christ in, I think, Zambia. He was telling me that they're locked down like we are here, but that food sources are not as prevalent there. So, I'm thankful for the fact that you have Walmart and Alva Market and whatever you've got available to you wherever you might be right now. Because there are folks in the world who are locked down because of the virus who don't have access to the kinds of things that we do. But my point is this: he has an opinion in Africa. He can share that opinion with me in the United States. When I put sermons online, he watches those sermons. When they have a meeting and somebody is brought to Christ in their meetings, he sends me messages. He posts on Facebook for all the world to see who wants to see it. That brother so and so was baptized this week. So we have opinions that we hold in common, and we share those opinions openly on media and across very vast. When I was a kid, we had people that came from Eastern Europe talk to us about the mission work that they were doing, particularly in Poland. And in Poland at that time, you certainly did not have this right. You could not peacefully assemble for the purpose of Christianity. Communism had that squashed pretty well. They wanted to keep a close eye on any groups meeting together because you get enough people believing the same thing and it's contrary to what the government believes, you might end up with a problem. So they made sure they knew where people were and what they were doing. So person A would go to the house at, say, 8 o'clock in the morning and just stay there. Person B might show up around 9:15. Couple C might show up 10:30 or 11, and eventually the whole congregation would show up, but they didn't show up altogether. So on Sundays when the congregations in Alva are meeting, you drive up College Avenue, and you'll see at the First Christian number of cars parked. You can go on up the block to the Fringe Church, the Methodist Church, the Baptist Church, all in a row, and there are just cars everywhere. If you wanted to disrupt worship, you would know where the people were. You drive past our congregation on a Sunday morning, there's cars all around the building. So we don't hide at all fact that we're getting together, that we hold that opinion in common and that we share that opinion openly. We have the right to peaceful assembly. Now, the problem comes in when groups who are extraordinarily opposed to each other want to have assemblies close to one another. So let's say that the KKK decides they're going to have a rally in downtown Birmingham. So they get a permit. It's their right to meet, to assemble. So they get their permit and they decide they're going to meet on August 1st. Well, Black Lives Matters also has a take on the way things ought to be. They have an opinion that they share. And they say, well, what we need to do is have a counter rally. There's going to be problems. So city governments have to be careful how they apply this peaceful meeting clause. And of course, in the United States, most of the time, if you're going to meet publicly, not privately, but I mean, if you own the church building, you can meet in the church with nobody's going to ask you what you're doing in there. But if you want to meet downtown on the square, you need a permit. You need the city of Alva to know what it is you're going to be doing while you're gathered together on the square. And by and large, reputable organizations are given the right to meet. But what if the peaceful turns into something unpeaceful? What if fights break out? Should we still give this right to people to gather publicly if it's going to be unpeaceful? Right? There's going to be conflict involved. So things have to be considered, even in the idea of their moral right to gather. And then the second part of 20 is no one may be compelled to belong to an association. Back in the day, we had some problems with that in the United States, and I think some of the antitrust laws dealt with this. But let's say that you wanted to work as an auto worker in Detroit. Could you work as an auto worker in Detroit without being a member of the Detroit Auto Workers Union? Could you be a non-union employee? I don't know. In Oklahoma today, if you are a teacher, you have the option to belong to the Oklahoma Education Association. They can't make you. Now, there are certain perks to being a member. They have some legal representation. They have some people who can give you advice and those kinds of things. But there are also some negative things. There's some political leanings that some teachers don't enjoy, and some teachers just don't want to pay for the right to belong to an organization that they don't really care about. So at least in that circumstance, it's kind of in line with what the United Nations was talking about, that they shouldn't be compelled to be part of an association. Right? So that's the modern thing. We go back to 1948. 1948, we were coming out of World War II, and we were coming out of the Nazi Party being in charge of Germany. If you did not agree with the Nazi Party, you were at risk. They told you what to believe, and at least publicly, you had to show belief in that system and in particularly the individuals at the top of the system. Goebbels, Speer, Hitler, those guys wanted unwavering following dedication to the Third Reich. So they wanted you to be a Nazi, right? So everybody joined the Nazi Party. It was just what you did to survive. Even members of the underground resistance in France, if they were out in public, people would have thought they were just like everybody else. But coming out of that, the UN says people should not be forced to join any association, whether or not you believe. And that goes again back to the idea of you can hold your own conscience. You can have the freedom of opinion and expression. If your opinion and expression don't match that of the association, you had the right to not belong to that association. And then Article 21. Everyone has the right to take part in the government of his country directly or through freely chosen representatives. That's number one. And that sounds a whole lot like us, doesn't it? Well, in 1948, that was a new concept even in the United States. Because you could go to the late 1800s, not too long after the emancipation. As you go forward, eventually all males had the right to vote, but it wasn't until the 1930s, 1940s, that the suffrage movement came about. In other words, women working for their own right to vote. It was kind of assumed, and this may be my opinion rather than fact, but I'll give you my opinion. It was kind of assumed that if a woman was not of age, if she was younger, that her father was voting on her behalf. He was the head of her family. If she was married, then her husband was right about that. But even after that, you've got men and women 18 years of age and older. Everybody can vote, except if you live in a place where the state or the local government is squashing the right to vote. It's one of those things that I like to talk about a lot toward the end of this class. Maybe we'll get the opportunity to share a little bit more. But again, in the Deep South, you had the right to vote, but you couldn't get registered to vote. So it made very little difference what rights you might have nationally if you couldn't get it done locally. And there's lots and lots of arguments going on currently over who in the United States should be able to participate in voting. What age should it be? Do you need to be a naturalized citizen? Can people from other countries have a hand in our process? The last election, they're still debating about whether somebody interfered from Russia or not, and how the problems in 1948 said everybody should have the right to take part in the government of his own country. Either personally, some of us want to be part of the government itself. We want you to vote for us so that we can be part of the government. I have some friends that have those aspirations, and one of these days, that's what they want to do. They want to be in the Congress, or they want to be the president, or they want to work in local government. But I have no desire to do that at all. So they ask me for my support. Will you vote for me? They ask all of us for our support. Will you vote for me? I'm not very active, I'll tell you the truth, in government matters, in politics. As a minister, I kind of decided if I had to tell them how to vote. Now, I hold some very strong opinions about the way things ought to be, and I hold some very strong opinions about the way things ought to talk to me about it personally. They don't drag that stuff up very much. That's not within my realm of influence. That's not who I think I'm supposed to be. But everyone should have the right to be involved and to have a voice, either personally as the representative or as someone who helps to elect the representative. And we're coming up to November, and we've almost forgotten about it because of the COVID virus. That's all we're seeing on the news right now. But coming soon will be the Democratic convention and the Republican convention, and we'll put forward presidential candidates. And if the world still stands, there'll be a vote in November, and we'll decide whether we want to keep what we have or exchange it for something else. Huge vote coming up this November. It will shape the nation in his country. I think we're doing a lot better in that regard. Here's the question. If I want to sign up for disability or Social Security or WIC or whatever thing that the government has available to help me out, how should they decide whose case is next? Should it not be work your way down the stack, up the stack? The first one in is the first one taken care of. You don't decide based on the picture on the cover. right? The color of their flesh makes no difference. You don't decide by religious affiliation or by sex or by any of those things, right? You decide based on their merit to have the things that are described in your help, right? If I'm in charge of the food stamps for Woods County, there should be no question beyond do they qualify according to the law. That's the only thing that should have anything to do with my decision. Um, Unfortunately, that's not always the case. And sometimes these things are uncovered. People, as they should be, are removed from their offices. People put in who will be more even-handed in the way that they handle it. What about folks who are in the country illegally? We keep asking this question. Here, and they need help. Do they have the right of equal access to public services in our country, or do they only have access to public services in their own country? This one says in his country, his or their country. That's a good question to ask. And genuine elections, which shall be by universal and equal suffrage, it shall be held by secret vote or by equivalent free voting procedures. Well, there's two or three things in there that I think are important. Number one is the idea that they are free elections. Nobody can coerce you. The voter is coming in and he's getting ready to cast his vote. He's not surrounded by people trying to change his mind or her mind at the last minute. So we have a free election. We're allowed to make up our own mind. We could have our own opinions. We can share our own opinions. We can vote our own free and periodic. We have them spaced out and we do it the same way every time. So as soon as Trump was elected, there was a campaign to get rid of Trump 4 years later. So they know exactly how long it's going to take. They were unable to remove him from office via the impeachment process. So now they have to look to November, right? In November, we know we're supposed to have elections. They're periodic. They're going to show up at the same time every 4 years. And if you don't like what you've got, that's your opportunity to change it. We have elections on the off 2 years as far as the Congress and the Senate are concerned. So, way, the will of the people shall be the basis of the authority of government. The problem, of course, during World War II, in Italy, in Germany, in Japan, they were totalitarian states. You had emperor in Japan, authority, and then in Italy, you had Mussolini, who, as a fascist, had all the leadership authority in his nation. So, coming out of that, they said we need to have the people making the rules rather than having the government making all one individual at the top making the rule for all the people at the bottom. What else did I want to say about that? Oh, the idea of voting in secret. I mentioned a little bit about that, but turning it, nobody has the right to know what you believe. Some of us are very vocal about it. I know that a couple of students in this class are very vocal about what they believe politically, spiritually, socially. And that's fantastic. I appreciate your fervor on the subject, and both of you have made great points and discussions in class before I fell out of the roof. Lots of things are commendable in you may believe, and with whomever you may agree. Say amen or sit on your hands. You don't have to say anything. And as the voting gets closer, there will be lots of folks who will be wanting you to say, I believe this or I'm voting for that. They want you to agree with them. They want you to move in a particular direction. They want you to move. And if you buy into that and you agree and you want to say that you agree, fantastic. Otherwise, just politely tell them, sorry, I don't want to share that information with you at this time. You're right. Not many places had that right in 1948. It's spreading. Democracy is doing better. The Democratic Republic of the United States is doing quite well, thank you. But when we get to November, here's my prediction. I don't know who's going to win, but I know that the losers will complain and they will say that it was cheated. That somehow the winners did something to stuff the ballot boxes and to change history to their liking, because nobody likes to lose. If you spend billions of dollars trying to get elected and it doesn't work out, it's hard to just shake hands and go back to your neutral corner. So just figure it's going to get ugly. Probably long about July or August, it'll start getting ugly, and then it'll just get uglier from there. Know that that it's coming. Make up your mind based on what you believe. Vote your conscience, or don't. It's completely up to you. Hopefully, this one came out nice and clean. The one I tried to do earlier was so garbled that I didn't even want to give it to you. So I will post this and send you the links. Remember, tell me that you watched the whole thing. Give me some opinions about the things that were said, and tell me what my evil genius name really is. Talk to you later.